Hey, what's up, Cowboys Nation? Today we've got some absolutely wild news coming out of the NFL. In what can only be described as a blockbuster deal, Tyreek Hill, yes, you heard that right, Tyreek Hill has reportedly signed with the Dallas Cowboys in a historic trade. But is it confirmed yet? Well, stick around because we've got all the details coming your way. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any more big Cowboys news. Now, let's break this down. Could Tyreek Hill really be joining America's team? Alright, folks, let's start with the rumors that have been absolutely setting the NFL world on fire. Over the past 48 hours, whispers have started circulating across various social media platforms, and NFL insiders have been buzzing about a potential trade between the Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys for none other than Tyreek Hill. The player, known for his incredible speed, elite route running, and deep threat ability, has turned heads, and now, the Cowboys may be on the verge of making the biggest splash of the offseason. Now, let's break down how this all went down. It started with some cryptic tweets from major sports journalists. NFL Network's Ian Rapoport tweeted out, and I quote, "Sources tell me there's a deal in the works involving Tyreek Hill. Potential trade to a top NFC contender is on the horizon." Now, we know Rapoport doesn't throw things out there lightly, so naturally, all eyes turn to the Dallas Cowboys. Could they be the ones making a play for Tyreek Hill? And what would this mean for the Cowboys' already potent offense? You're going to want to stay with me as we break down all the angles here. So, let's start with the big question: how would this trade even work? Well, according to multiple sources, the Cowboys and Dolphins are engaged in serious talks, but nothing has been finalized just yet. The trade rumors suggest that the Cowboys are looking to acquire Hill, and the Dolphins may be open to dealing the speedster for the right price. We know that Hill has been one of the most dynamic players in the NFL for several years, and this move would have massive implications for both teams. For the Dolphins, dealing Hill would open up space to rebuild their roster and focus on strengthening other areas, but for the Cowboys, this could represent a major power shift in the NFC. With Dak Prescott at the helm and an already impressive receiving core led by CeeDee Lamb, adding Tyreek Hill to the mix would give the Cowboys one of the most dangerous offenses in the entire league. Hill's elite speed and ability to stretch the field would complement Lamb's route running and give Prescott a much-needed weapon that can turn a short catch into a long touchdown at any moment. But let's dive into the specifics of the trade package that could be on the table. One of the big names that keeps coming up in these discussions is Trevon Diggs, the Cowboys' star cornerback. The Dolphins are reportedly looking to bolster their defense, and Diggs would be a natural fit for them. Diggs has been one of the most dominant cornerbacks in the NFL over the past few seasons, and he could provide Miami with the shutdown corner they've been missing. Now, pairing Diggs with Xavier Howard in the Dolphins' secondary could give Miami one of the most formidable cornerback tandems in the league. This potential deal could help both teams fill their needs, with the Cowboys getting a dynamic playmaker on offense and the Dolphins adding a key piece to their defense. Another part of the equation is the salary cap. Hill is still under contract with the Dolphins, but his deal is hefty, and the Cowboys would need to figure out a way to accommodate his salary. We all know that Jerry Jones, the Cowboys' owner and general manager, is no stranger to making big financial moves. In fact, he's built a reputation for making blockbuster signings and trades over the years. But the challenge for the Cowboys in this scenario would be how to restructure their roster to make room for Hill's contract. One possibility is restructuring the deals of players like Tyron Smith or even Ezekiel Elliott to free up the necessary cap space. If the Cowboys can make the financials work, this trade could become a reality, and the Cowboys would add a game-changing wide receiver to their already explosive offense. Now, let's talk about the impact Tyreek Hill would have on the Cowboys' offense. Adding Hill to this roster would make the Cowboys one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. We know that Dak Prescott is a talented quarterback, but he's been missing that true game-changing deep threat. CeeDee Lamb has been phenomenal, but Hill would provide another layer of offensive firepower that could take this team to the next level. Imagine this: with Hill on the field, Defenses would be forced to account for his blazing speed, which would open up opportunities for Lamb to work underneath or in the intermediate routes. And let's not forget about Michael Gallup, who has been one of the Cowboys' most reliable deep threats. Gallup could stretch the field on the other side of Hill, creating a nightmare scenario for defensive coordinators who would now have to deal with 3 legitimate receiving threats. Meanwhile, Tony Pollard would have more room to work in the running game, as defenses would have to respect the Cowboys' passing attack. The possibilities would be endless, and it would be hard to imagine any defense that could stop this offensive juggernaut. But it's not just about the offensive fireworks. Tyreek Hill brings a winning mentality to the Cowboys, and that's something this team has been lacking in recent years. Hill has been to the Super Bowl, and he's one of the most proven players in the postseason. His ability to come through in clutch moments is something the Cowboys have desperately needed. Adding a player of Hill's caliber would elevate the entire team's confidence and belief that they can compete for a championship. Dak Prescott, in particular, would benefit from having a player like Hill at his disposal. Prescott has shown flashes of brilliance, but he's also been inconsistent at times, especially in big games. With Hill on the roster, Prescott would have a security blanket, knowing that no matter the situation, Hill can take over and make a game-changing play. Looking beyond the Cowboys' offense, let's talk about the bigger picture here. If Tyreek Hill is indeed traded to the Cowboys, it would send shockwaves through the entire NFL. The NFC East is already one of the most competitive divisions in the league, with the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants making significant improvements to their rosters. But a trade for Hill would immediately make the Cowboys the favorites in the division. The Eagles have one of the most complete teams in the NFL, but they don't have a player like Tyreek Hill, and that's where the Cowboys could gain an edge. Hill's presence would force opposing defenses to pick their poison. Do they focus on shutting down the Cowboys' elite wide receivers, or do they stack the box to stop the Cowboys' running game? Either way, Hill's speed and playmaking ability would create an offense that could put up points in a hurry, making them a real threat in the NFC. And let's not forget about the long-term implications of this trade. Tyreek Hill is not only one of the best wide receivers in the league right now, but he's also someone who can contribute for several more years. While Hill's contract might be hefty, he's shown no signs of slowing down, and he could be a key piece for the Cowboys for the next few seasons. If the Cowboys can make this deal happen, they'll be positioning themselves to compete for championships well into the future. The addition of Hill would not only make them a top contender this year, but it would give them the offensive firepower to stay competitive for years to come. Now, we can't ignore the possibility that this is just another rumor that ultimately falls apart. After all, the NFL offseason is full of speculation, and sometimes these big trade rumors turn out to be nothing more than smoke. But the reality is that this trade is generating a ton of buzz, and there's too much momentum behind it to ignore. Whether or not it ultimately happens, the fact that we're talking about Tyreek Hill potentially joining the Cowboys shows just how serious Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are about building a Super Bowl contending team. So, Cowboys Nation, what do you think? Would you want to see Tyreek Hill in a Dallas Cowboys uniform? What kind of impact do you think he'd have on this team? Would he help put the Cowboys over the top and finally bring a Super Bowl to Dallas? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates on this developing story. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time with more Dallas Cowboys news. Stay Dallas strong, and as always, go Cowboys!